What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss back at it again with another Arrowverse TV show review. And yeah, I know it's been a minute since I've done one. I meant to do one last month, but I kind of got a little busy with some personal things. But we are back at it again with another episode of the Arrowverse TV show reviews. And we are continuing year 5 with Arrow Season 5. And before we get started, just to let you know, if you do enjoy this video, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're still on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to at least reach about 700 by the end of March. So, just keep on liking and keep on subscribing, and the support would be very appreciated. So, it was a dark time in Arrow before Season 5 came out. Season 4 was awful. 75% of Arrow's fan base left. They gave up on the show. I was one of the few that remained. I was hoping and praying that Arrow please just got their stuff together and produced another good season of the show, just like they did in seasons 1 and 2. And long behold, season 5 came, and boy, oh boy, what a redemption. So, we have in season 5, Oliver just, protecting Star City from all sorts of crime. And then comes the main villain, who not only threatens Oliver physically, but threatens him emotionally, psychologically, threatens to break his mind. And he successfully does that while also tearing apart his family, his team, and everything he holds dear to himself. Like I said earlier, this season was Arrow's redemption. It just came back full force, full swing, just how it was in Arrow seasons 1 and 2. It was just an amazing comeback with some awesome fight scenes, man. A great main villain, some cool storylines as well. It's just a great comeback for Arrow, and I wish it could have stayed like this, but it had its ups and downs, and this is definitely one of the ups of the show. And I'm not going to say standout episodes, because I really liked the majority of episodes in this season. Like a good, probably like 90% of the episodes, I liked them. So no standout episodes, because the majority of the season was just great overall. So the main characters list is pretty much the same as last time, with a few additions and subtractions here and there. We have Oliver Queen, John Diggle, Felicity Smoke, Thea Queen, Quentin Lance. Curtis Holt actually becomes a main character this season. A new character, Renee Ramirez. He's like a main character this season. Even though he's not credited as one, he appears enough to be a main character. And the main villain of the season, Adrian Chase, aka Prometheus. And we have quite a few side characters this season. So let me know in the comment section down below if I do miss some. Not really sure if I remember all of them, but here are the ones that I do remember. We have Rory Regan, I think that's what his name is, aka Ragman. Evelyn Sharp, aka Artemis, even though I don't think she was called Artemis. Was she called Artemis? I'm not really sure, but her. Susan Williams, who is like Oliver's little love interest this season. Tobias Church, who's like sort of like leading villain up to Prometheus. He was like the villain for the first like 5 or 6 episodes of the season. Black Siren makes her debut in Arrow, coming from The Flash, and she appears a few times, of course, on the villain side. But, it's kind of weird with Quentin Lance there and, Earth 1 Laurel being dead. Talia Al Ghul, sister of Nissa Al Ghul and daughter of Ra's Al Ghul, she makes her debut, and she appears a few times in both the present day and in flashbacks. That Helix lady, her name is blank in my mind right now. I forgot her name, but she appeared. William's mom came back like once or twice. The homie Deathstroke came back in the last episode. That was awesome. Captain Boomerang was there too. He was fine, I guess. Malcolm Merlyn, makes his yearly appearances. So, I guess it was fine to see him as well. And Diona Drake makes her debut this season. I can't believe I didn't say her first, because she was in like the majority of the back half of the season, and she becomes the new Black Canary. I feel like the cast, it definitely undergoes a big change this season with all these new characters added into Team Arrow. Like I said with The Flash Season 3, it can get a little crowded, especially when there's 6 or 7 members on Team Arrow. It's like, whoa. And there's only 4 compartments for their suits as well. But I believe once you get to know these new characters, they pretty well mesh with the rest of the team, at least the original team, and I think they work really well together this season. So first up, we have Oliver Queen, aka the Green Arrow, and Stephen Amell just pulls out his best acting chops yet for this season, for real. I know that season 2 of Arrow is my favorite season, but I feel that season 5 is definitely Stephen Amell's best acted season ever in Arrow. He's just amazing this season. His fight scenes are awesome. They're back to brutal like they were in seasons 1 and 2. It's just awesome to see the great fight scenes back again. His emotion is just off the charts, especially in that Capuchin episode. Or was it Capuchin or Capuchon? One of the two. That episode, where he was like, I wanted to and I liked it. Oh my gosh, chills to this day.
I wanted to, and I liked
it. Also, the rivalry between Oliver and Chase is just amazing. Is it as good as Slade and Oliver? Not really, in my opinion, but it's still great nonetheless. The psychological warfare between those two is awesome, and Oliver is definitely half of why that is. Oliver is also the mayor of Star City at this time, so he got his mayoral duties, sign this, press conference that, but he's Green Arrow at night, so got an awesome mayor who's not afraid to get into the line of fire. He's just amazing this season. I don't even really know what else to say. Oliver Queen is great this season. He's easily the best character of Arrow Season 5. Next up, we have John Diggle. And John, to be honest, unless I'm missing something, he doesn't really do too much this season. I mean, he was in jail, I think, for a couple episodes this season. Or was it 2? He was in the army at first, then they framed him, then he went to jail. Oliver busted him out, and then they caught him again, but then Adrian Chase saved him. That's really all he did this season. I don't really remember if he had any other storylines, but he was still cool this season. He was back in the Spartan gear, and he got a pretty cool upgrade. I like the helmet upgrade for real. It looks better than the one he had in season 4, so I appreciate that. But yeah, like I said, he has some pretty cool fight scenes. He has some pretty cool emotion with Oliver, especially when Oliver was about to give up being the Green Arrow. That was pretty cool scenes with him and Diggle. And yeah, Diggle's just a good character this season. Definitely better than last season for sure. I don't think season 5 is his peak, but he's still good in this season nonetheless. Next up, we have Felicity Smoke, and she must have been put in timeout because of Arrow Season 4, because she definitely was dialed back a lot. At least until the back half of the season, or back third of the season. But yeah, she was alright this season. She wasn't as good as she was in seasons 1 and maybe season 2, but I mean, she wasn't as intolerable as she was in season 4. She didn't really do too much in the first half of the season, but in the second half, she got that little Helix storyline when that woman, I forgot what her name was, gave her that little drive thing that could access any information. She got a little power hungry. Then she joined Helix, and a little question for morals and all that stuff. It was weird, a little bit weird, but I mean, she wasn't terrible. I'll say that about Felicity. She wasn't terrible this season. She had a relationship with this officer named Billy. Billy Malone, I think that's what his name was. Then he died. So, I mean, that that didn't last long. And then the return of Olicity, at least in, like, the last couple episodes of the season. I wasn't a fan of that. But, I mean, she was an alright character this season. Not terrible like she was, but definitely still not a favorite. Next up, we have Thea Queen. And Thea really didn't do too much this season. Like, honestly, she was really behind the scenes. Wasn't she, like, Oliver's chief of staff? Not chief of staff. Well, maybe chief of staff. Or something. Something high in his mayor organization. And that's really all she was doing, because she gave up being Speedy. I mean, she did suit up a few times, like in the beginning of the season, and then also during the crossover. But that's really all she did this season, other than, being a help to Quentin Lance, because he had fell off the wagon again, and, he needed someone to help him get back on. And, she was there for him, and I actually kind of liked that storyline. It was great to see the bond between those two characters. But, yeah, she was an alright character this season, just not doing too much at all, really. I mean, she got kidnapped at the end of the season. But yeah, she's just an alright character this season. Nothing really too much to say about her. Next up, we have Quentin Lance. And Quentin is once again a good character. I mean, like I always say, he's going to consistently be a good character no matter what season it is. And I mean, his storyline is basically him just, still mourning Laurel's death and trying to get over that, trying to get over his drinking, which he fell back into again. And then he becomes Oliver's deputy mayor, I think. I think he's deputy mayor. Yes, deputy mayor. He still kind of has the drinking problem, but like I said earlier, Thea helps him with that, and I like the bond between those two. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all he does this season. And then, it gets a little complicated when Earth 2 Laurel shows back up, for sure, and that was definitely some good emotional scenes there. But, yeah, he's a pretty solid character this season. I mean, what else can I really say about him? He's always going to be a solid character, no matter what season it is. Next up, we have Curtis Holt, and like I said earlier, he becomes a main character this season. And, I mean, he's fine, I guess. Not one of my favorite characters, not by a long shot, but I mean, he's not bad or anything. He's just there. He's kind of like the male Felicity of a sense. He finally suits up as a hero. He becomes Mr. Terrific. I mean, his suit's fine. He can fight decently, I guess. He usually uses mostly like his tech and stuff to fight for him, like those T-spheres. Those are actually pretty cool. He goes through like a little marital struggle with his fiance finding out husband finding out that he's a vigilante. So I mean, there's that. And that's really all he does this season. I mean, like I said, he's not one of my favorite characters, but he's not a bad character at all. Next up, we have Rene Ramirez, played by Rick Gonzalez. I think that's how you say his last name. And he was a pretty cool character this season, He was introduced right at the beginning, him trying to be a vigilante of his own, even though he never admitted it, being inspired by the Green Arrow. And, he got some pretty cool fight scenes, He's definitely one of those anger fighters, just let the power flow through him as he's fighting. Oliver teaches him how to, use restraint sometimes and also, control that anger as well. And I mean, he's definitely as stubborn as Oliver, for real. Not really a team player at first, but, he definitely meshes with the team later on. He got a daughter, so, there's that little storyline. And, yeah, he's a pretty cool character this season. I do like the wild dog costume because it is very, it's kind of basic, but, that's all he could really do at the time. So, I mean, I like that aspect of him. And yeah, he's a cool character this season. And finally, we have the main villain of the season, Prometheus, aka Adrian Chase, played by Josh Segarra. And this man did amazing in the role. I mean, Adrian Chase was just the DA for Oliver's mayoral team, I guess. If he wasn't the DA, let me know. I'm pretty sure he was the DA, but if he wasn't, just let me know in the comments. But he was amazing nonetheless. I mean, he couldn't keep his anger in check, especially in that one scene where he was like interrogating that prisoner.
And that makes me somebody that you do not want to screw with.
It was always hints throughout the season that there's more to him than what he's letting on. And, that mystery when Vigilante showed up, I was for certain, 100% sure that Adrian Chase was Vigilante because he acted exactly like him. I mean, all the anger and stuff, like the quippy little one-liners and stuff, like, I was for sure that he was Vigilante, but then it was revealed that Adrian was Prometheus the whole time. My mind was blown. It was blown. I had no idea. But hey, he definitely still came through as Prometheus as well. Sure, he wasn't the biggest physical threat to Oliver, but psychologically, I feel like that area is where Adrian Chase shines the most. The psychological warfare between him and Oliver, it was just off the charts. He broke Oliver, for crying out loud, psychologically, to where he wanted to quit being the Green Arrow. What other villain did that? Not even Deathstroke did that. And Deathstroke is my favorite villain from Arrow, but I gotta give credit to where credit's due. And Prometheus broke Oliver emotionally, mentally, and all that. Sure, it didn't last long, but still, that's definitely an achievement. And yeah, he's just a great main villain overall. He's smart, he's cunning, he's always 10 steps ahead, and he just had everything planned out, even to his death. He is the reason why Liang Yu blew up, which blew my mind as well. But man, he was just definitely up there as one of the best villains in Arrow for sure. And he is a main reason why Season 5 was great overall. So now time to go over the side characters that I remembered and named earlier. Once again, let me know in the comments if I forgot some side characters, because there are quite a lot of them. But first off, we have Diona Drake, aka the new Black Canary, played by Juliana Harkavy. I think that's what her name is. And I didn't put her in the main characters list because she didn't appear till the back half of the season. But she was like a recurring character more than a main character. But she does become a main character later on. But she's pretty cool. I like her introduction, her just fighting crime on her terms at first. And then, joining Oliver's team and becoming the new Black Canary. And that's cool. I really like that, and she definitely fits well with the team for sure. Then we have Rory Regan, aka Ragman, and he was a cool character. I liked the little suit he had with like the powers. Those were pretty cool. And I just wish he was in the show for longer, because he was only in the show for 10 episodes, to be honest, before he left and didn't come back till the series finale. But he was still a cool character nonetheless. He had some pretty cool fight scenes with that Ragman suit on, so he was a pretty cool character this season. Next up, we have Evelyn Sharp, and I was not a fan of her character at all. I mean, she was just on Team Arrow for a little bit. She didn't really fit in with the team, and I guess that makes sense because she was working for Prometheus all along. And I mean, that wasn't televised at all. Not one bit. But yeah, she wasn't really a favorite of mine. And didn't she die at the end of the season? Because we didn't see her after that explosion, or after she was in that cage. But I mean, she wasn't a favorite of mine anyway, so good riddance. Then we got Susan Williams. I didn't care for her either. She was like Oliver's new love interest this season. She just was kind of annoying. She kind of had a little rivalry with Thea. And then, she just got in the way a lot. Like, she was even investigating Oliver. Like, her loyalty was totally off. And I'm just glad she left when she did, because that would not have ended well. Then we have Tobias Church. And he was a pretty cool villain. He was like the villain for the first 5 episodes of the season. And like I said, he was a pretty cool villain, more about, ruling Star City, or ruling at least like the criminal underworld of Star City. But he was a pretty cool villain nonetheless. And he definitely led the way for Prometheus to take over for sure. Because, Prometheus chopped that fool up. Well, maybe not chopped him up, but, threw a star into his neck. So... yeah, thank you for playing your role, Tobias. We also got the homie Anatoly coming back this season. He was mainly in the flashbacks, since they took place in Russia, and he was good in them. And he was also in a few of the present day episodes, because this is where he becomes more against Oliver and takes more of an antagonistic role against Oliver. So I really like that, and I'm just glad that Anatoly came back. He's awesome. Then we have Black Siren, aka Laurel Lance from Earth 2, and she was a pretty cool character. It comes later when I actually really like her, like later on in the show. But in Arrow season 5, she was pretty alright. I mean, she was just stirring up trouble for Team Arrow. Showed up in the mid-season, stirring up trouble, then came back later, stirring up some trouble with Prometheus. So it was pretty cool seeing her, though. Nissa Al Ghul makes her debut this season. She appears in some flashbacks. She was also a person who trained Oliver back in Russia, and also she appears in the present day as well, working with Prometheus as well. So I guess there's something there. They both hate Oliver, so that must be great motivation. But she's a pretty alright character, and she does have a few cool fight scenes as well. Guys, let me know what the Helix lady's name is, because it's definitely drawing a blank in my mind. But she was alright, I guess. She was kind of like an influence on Felicity to make some not so morally right choices, but doing the wrong things for the right reasons. But she was okay, I guess. Basically just another Felicity 2.0, if I will. William's mom comes back, and she's fine, I guess. She's just motivated by finding her son, who was kidnapped again. It kind of becomes a trend in the show that William gets kidnapped for real. But she's there. Deathstroke coming back was probably one of the best things of this season, for real. Just seeing him in the suit again, him and Oliver fighting together. Oh, it's just awesome to see his fight scenes, to see the bond, everything. It's just amazing to see him. He's always welcome back, always. Malcolm Merlyn also comes back this season, but it's his last time in Arrow because he dies at the end of this season. And at first, we didn't think he died because, you don't see a body. And if you don't see a body in a comic book, movie, or TV show, that means there's a possibility that he's still alive. But he never comes back after this. And, it was kind of sad to see him go. He's been in the show since the beginning. And even though season 3 and 4 weren't his best season, he went out with a bang, literally.
God damn, you took that too far, bruh. Shit.
But yeah, he was cool. He was cool this season. He helped Oliver fight Prometheus, and he saved his daughter, which is all he wanted to do. So, good job, Malcolm. You finished off kind of strong. And I forgot to mention her at the beginning, but Nissa Al Ghul also comes back. And she's alright, there's a little sisterly rivalry between her and Talia, so that was cool. That was a cool fight scene between them two. And also, the little tension between her and Malcolm, that's alright too. But yeah, it was just cool seeing her again. She's also always welcome on the show. And I'll also mention Vigilante as well, because he appeared a few times this season, and he's just cool. I really liked him this season. The mystery around who he was actually, he definitely gets the job done, or at least almost gets the job done, until Team Arrow foils his plans, but he was still cool nonetheless. So now that we finally made it through the characters, we can now move on to the rest of the aspects of the season. So starting off, we have the suits of the season. And this was a pretty good year for suits for Arrow. I mean, you had the Green Arrow suit, bringing back the long sleeves. It was a cool suit. You had the Prometheus suit. I like that suit a lot, especially, the mask was cool. You had the Wild Dog suit, and I mean, it's pretty basic, but, it's comic book accurate, so I like that a lot. Like I said earlier, the Ragman suit was cool. Evelyn didn't really have a suit. I mean, did she? I mean, she had the mask, I guess, but nothing really special there. The Spartan suit update, I liked it a lot. I really think it was just the helmet that was the problem for me, but they updated the helmet, and it just makes the suit better in my opinion. Mr. Terrific suit, it's alright, I guess. The Vigilante suit is cool, like I said earlier. I had to mention the Deathstroke suit. It's just so beautiful seeing that suit come back again. The fight scenes were just absolutely beautiful this season, just like they were in seasons 1 and 2. Like, they for real got the right fight coordinators back, and they said, hey, listen, y'all know what y'all did in season 4? Get it right or y'all are fired. Like, they really got their stuff together, and the fight scenes, they definitely show. And it's just amazing overall to see Arrow back at peak awesomeness with their fight scenes. There weren't too many villains of the week this season. I mean, there was Vigilante. I guess he's sort of a villain of the week, but he appeared multiple times, so maybe not. But there was that team up between that black lady from season 4, China White, and Cupid, that one episode. And I don't remember any more villains of the week, to be honest. There was mainly just Tobias Church and then Prometheus for the majority of the season. But I mean, I guess the villains were fine. They didn't really add too much to the story, other than Vigilante, really. But they weren't a hindrance to the season either. The overall storyline of the season is a very solid storyline for real. I mean, you just got Prometheus messing with Oliver, trying to break him psychologically. And there's not really too many side storylines. I mean, there's a few, but they all converge on the main storyline towards the end of the season. And I really appreciate the writers actually taking care of how they write this season. And it definitely shows. This storyline was definitely a strong point this season. And let's not forget about that finale, y'all. Lian Yu blowing up. Bruh. I was blown away back then when it first came out. Like, in my opinion, that right there is just the best Arrow cliffhanger ever. Like, season 1 is definitely a close second, with the undertaking and all that. But Lian Yu blowing up, unsure of fates and everything, that's definitely the best cliffhanger Arrow has ever done. Sure, the resolve to that cliffhanger sucked, but we're not talking about that. This is a season 5 review. Next up is the annual crossover event, and Arrow serves as part 2 of the Invasion crossover that was going on this year. If you want to hear my opinion about part 1, go check out my Flash season 3 review, because that's when I go over part 1 of the Invasion crossover. But Arrow serves as part 2, and it also serves as Arrow's 100th episode. So they got a mix of writing love letters to the Arrow fans while also moving the plot of the crossover forward. And I think they do a great job. I really like this episode of the crossover. It's just full of throwbacks to previous seasons. They brought back a whole bunch of villains. They brought back Damien Dark, Malcolm Merlyn, Deathstroke again, like they said, some ghosts. And, you know, it's just a great plot overall in the episode. I mean, the other stuff that takes place outside of, like, the Arrow world that the Dominators created, it's fine, I guess, you know. Flash and Supergirl and other Team Arrow, they just, you know, take apart or fight this half cyborg person. I guess it was fine. But really, the Arrow stuff is what I care about, and it was just great overall. It was some great emotion in that episode, some great fight scenes, and it definitely moved the plot forward of the crossover as well. So definitely a highlight of this season. And with this being the last time I say this, we cannot do an Arrow review without going over the flashbacks. This is year 5 of the flashbacks, which is the final year that Oliver was away from Starling City at the time. And it's a pretty solid season for flashbacks. You know, it takes place in Russia. We get a whole bunch of scenes with Oliver and Anatoly, you know, him joining the Brodfa and trying to take on Konstantin Kovar, who is like the main villain of the flashbacks. He's a pretty cool main villain. He's definitely not the best, but he's still cool nonetheless. I would say this is probably like my 3rd favorite year of flashbacks. Definitely still a solid year for flashbacks. I mean, there's some pretty cool fight scenes, a pretty cool storyline, and I love how everything comes full circle with Oliver, you know, putting on the fake beard, splashing all the dirt on him, and just messing himself up so it looks like he's been on the island for 5 years. And like I said, it just comes back full circle with him shooting that arrow to signal the boat that we saw in the very first scene of the very first episode. And I just like that it comes full circle with the flashbacks, and it's just great flashbacks overall. Really, really enjoyed them. So in conclusion, Arrow Season 5 is definitely Arrow's redemption. It brings back everything the fans loved about the show back in Arrow Seasons 1 and 2, with the combination of great fight scenes, a great main villain, some great storylines. Arrow Season 5 is just great, and it just comes back to what Arrow's core is for real. So I'm going to have to give Arrow Season 5 a 9.5 out of 10. Definitely not a perfect season of Arrow, but really, really close to it for real. So a 9.5 out of 10 for Arrow Season 5. So that's the review, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the season. Was it okay? Was it good? Was it great? Was it bad? Even though I don't know who would say it's bad. But just let me know that in the comment section down below. Tune in next time for my next Arrowverse review, which will be Legends of Tomorrow Season 2. And I'm pretty excited for that because that is my favorite season of Legends. So, like I said, just tune in for that. And if you did enjoy this video, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.